My name is Jiles Smith, and welcome to Our Community. Well, welcome, Superintendent. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We're talking mostly about Cradle to Career. So exactly what is that program?
The Cradle Career was developed several years ago in conjunction with the county-wide vision for San Bernardino County. The county-wide vision consists of several elements, including business, health, but education is one of the top priorities. And the educational element, led by both Dr. Morales, the president of Cal State University San Bernardino, and myself, we developed the Cradle to Career Roadmap, which really focuses on the key benchmarks for students from cradle to career. So we're talking 0 to 5 population, the K-12 and post-secondary, so that we have a mindset and disposition for students in terms of college and career readiness, so they can be prepared after graduation with a plan for success. And it focuses on those key benchmarks, not just from an academic perspective, but also from a social and personal readiness perspective as well. Because we know students in an academic environment need support, but they need support in those other areas too, because students have needs across the continuum to be ready for post-secondary success.
Okay, so you're talking about academic and career as well as personal and social readiness.
Yes.
Those are completely two different tracks, therefore?
It's integrated, but for academics, that's the coursework that they're taking in school. But to be successful in mastering that coursework, many times they need counseling. They need other supports because they're dealing with issues in the home environment, in the school environment. When you look across our county, we have many students that come from poverty, many students in foster youth, students that are homeless. So when you look at those other needs outside the school environment, we need to provide those support systems so that students can do well in an academic environment.
So to do this, I'm sure you made some other partnerships, and I read online you have a great relationship with the county library system. Tell us more about that.
We do. We've been meeting with the county library, the director, and other staff of the county library, because when you look at the library system in our county, there's over 30 branches in our county, across our county, and the cities that make up our county. And when you look at what the county can bring to the table and provide for students, along with supports that districts have, we really need to leverage resources. You know, for example, we had the county library come talk to superintendents, and they spoke about the benefits of having a county library card for our students. Students can go online and get periodicals, they can get test support, they can get GED support, they can get other kinds of resources that when you add that to what the school provides, students now have more of an abundance of resources to support issues that are so important for all of us, like literacy. And so the county library has been a tremendous partner. We also had to come to speak with our teacher presidents of all the districts in our county and mention what the students can receive by just having that county library card. So working together with the county library, we can leverage the resources to support student success.
Now that's very important. Reading especially is very important for the success of children. How about the district community cabinets? Could you tell us or enlighten us a little bit more about that process?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And just going back one more onto the partnership with the library and the countywide vision is this year we've emphasized literacy as a focus. And so we have our Vision to Read that is that partnership with the county and part of our collective impact approach and our education elements. So when you look at literacy being a focus, that's what we're trying to drive so that students can have that success in literacy.
So maybe I'll do a show on that piece of it then. If I know the people from the county library system, it would be interesting to get the word out to the people.
That'd be great. So one of community cabinets, when you look at the local control accountability plans, that's the new accountability system in the state. And it has 3 elements. It has student outcomes, it has conditions of learning, and it also has stakeholder engagement. So districts are required to engage in stakeholder engagement so they can have input from the communities on what their thoughts are in terms of the local priorities of that school district. And so community cabinets started in our county before the LCAP emerged and fact, Colton has had a community cabinet in place for several years now. So now, in terms of how to engage parents and stakeholder engagement, we like to promote the community cabinet concept, because when you look at the model, for example, in Colton, they bring together their stakeholders early in the school year, and they have dialogue and discussion with over 150 people from the community that represent the faith-based community, law enforcement, parents, businesses, and other key stakeholders. And the teachers come in, the administrators come in, the students come in, the counselors come in, other people come in to talk about what's important in the community of Colton and how can they use their resources to support their most important priorities. And so over the course of, starting to fall, over the course of the subsequent months, when it comes time to adopt their budget, they already know where they want to allocate resources because they've had that engagement with stakeholders to support their most important priorities.
So, have you ever thought about using public television like this show to maybe document that dialogue and show the greater system? Because it sounds like there are quite a few stakeholders, but a lot of other parents out there that may not have the time or inkling to get involved at that level, but yet they'll still know.
Absolutely. I think the more that they can have all of the businesses, radio, TV involved in that process, the more they can get the word out to their entire team. They do have radio station staff that attend the community cabinets meetings. They've offered that forum for the message to get out to the community. But certainly, the more we can have more partners, the more benefit it would be to the community.
I'll look into that as well. I have some great partnerships with some of the school districts, and anything to do to help the people out is something I'm really looking forward to. But you mentioned 3 elements, and we kind of focused on one.
Yes.
How about the other 2?
The other one is student outcomes, and then conditions of learning. So when you look at student outcomes, what is the district using to determine student success? And again, under a local control environment, districts determine what their own goals are, and they also determine the metrics used to achieve those goals. And so districts are doing that across our county. The state will also have their own rubrics, but the state rubrics won't be complete until October of this year. So that's going to be a priority for the state. They had tried to have that completed October of last year, but it's complicated and there's a lot of issues to address. And so that work continues to be done, and we'll see that in place by October of this next year.
Another element of Cradle to Career is the career-oriented pathways. And I understand that it focuses on the 15 top industries, and I'm assuming it helps the students go the path of trade, if you will, not necessarily higher academics. Is that correct?
When you look at the local control accountability plan, the top priorities we're seeing across our county, college and career readiness is definitely one of the priorities that all districts are focused on. And so what we see emerging are developing these career pathways. So when you look at the core content that's associated with the secondary programs, they want to make learning relevant for students. And so what do students really need to know to be prepared for the future? And how can they tie that into the A through G coursework so that it's relevant for students and it ties to the industry sectors that we know jobs are going to be in the future? And so the industry sectors that are emerging in career pathways are sectors such as health, such as advanced manufacturing, cyber, technology, and other areas that we know the jobs are going to be in the future. And so that content is integrated within the pathway so students get that exposure to those industry sectors, and they're prepared after graduation to have a plan for success.
They also talk on the state education website. It talks about student voices and how it's a powerful method of and meaningful student engagement. You subscribe to that thought process as well?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, last year we convened the first ever county-wide student advisory group in our county. And we had about 50 students out in the high desert representing the high schools out in the high desert. And we had another 100 students on top of that representing the schools in the east and west valley of Warren County. And we asked them a number of questions. For example, one of the questions was, how are you being supported for college and career readiness in your school district? And the voices from the students was powerful because they really speak pure. They speak from the heart. They speak from fact in terms of how they experience their program and what their perception is and what they feel about their own programs. And so using student voice to capture that important dialogue and input from such a key stakeholder, that being our students, that will help us provide the programs and build those programs for the future.
The next question was really about how do you build those partnerships with government, public safety, social health services and how it all works together. But with our recent incident we had in Los Angeles, that we basically closed down all the schools for one day. I would like to ask you, how is this district prepared for that?
Absolutely, you know, that's one thing I feel really strong about is our partnership with law enforcement and first responders. You know, we all are devastated by the incident that took place in San Bernardino, but I think the whole country saw a collaboration involved and taking place to deal with that incident. You know, I know that in my conversations with the chief, one of the comments that was made is that we wouldn't have had the success in handling the instance if we did not have the collaborations that had taken place over the last several years, build those partnerships, that trust. And so because of that collaboration, when a major incident occurs, people come to the table to support it immediately, and they bring a level of expertise that we're all aware of beforehand. So we know where the expertise lies across our police departments and cities across our county. We know where the training is, where the specialization occurs, and the will for collaboration exists, so everybody wants to come to help. And instead of us not knowing how to engage and execute that help, we already understand where that expertise lies, and we're immediately able to implement it as a part of the execution of the plan. So I feel very confident in our law enforcement across our county, both our police departments, our sheriff, every one of the stakeholders involved. Our first responders and police departments are just absolutely fantastic, and we truly appreciate what they provide to our students and our schools.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Thanks for calling the GED Pep Talk Center. Jerry Siller speaking. Your level 7 in-your-face pep talk.
I can keep pushing you. Believe me, I'm good at it. But at some point, you're gonna need to start pushing yourself.
See, once you've got your GED diploma, you'll feel so good about yourself.
You tell them. You can't change your past, but you can definitely change your future.
That makes me so happy, I'm ready to bust out a dance.
Mr. Trejo, can I transfer this guy to you? My gentle technique isn't really working. He needs something a little more
Persuasive?
yes.
You listen, and you listen good.
Hey, where's my sandwich? Terry? Terry!
Take it from me, the King DMC. It's a real cool thing to get your GED.
Get that diploma!
Now hold on and we'll find you free GED classes. Capiche?
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
Now, there's another incident that popped up recently in Los Angeles this time with the school district, etc. So how are both of those situations similar? And again, are you guys prepared to deal with things like that as well?
Yeah, so we ever receive a credible threat, that our law enforcement partners provide us with that information. We have a coordinated effort and approach to dealing with incidents. And so if we're ever at risk, we will get that information from our law enforcement partners and absolutely communicate that out to our school districts in our county to make sure that our school districts are prepared. And we appreciate the law enforcement efforts to make sure our students are safe.
I had the pleasure of interviewing Sheriff McMahon as well, and you bring that same type of leadership style of a calm, direct leadership, and I feel very confident. We kind of talked off camera that I really think you're doing a great job here in the county, and you should be commended for you and your staff. I know it's a collective effort.
It's a team approach, and when we work together to support students, then our most important interest is their safety and their success. And it comes through this team approach and the partnerships that we've developed. So I'm very proud to be part of this county And I look forward to continuing to support the 412,000 students we have in our county.
How can the community serve or work with you better? Maybe serve on the community cabinets, or what can we do better to help you guys?
Absolutely. And I encourage when I go around the county speaking groups, I ask them, I say, are you familiar with your district stakeholder engagement plan? Because it's one of the 3 elements of LCAP. And I ask them if they contact their district can tell them what their plan is. And I encourage them as parents to get involved, to attend the meetings, to be part of the community cabinet or other forum that a district has. Because districts are truly interested in their input and their advice and their recommendations. And when we start to have those dialogues, then we can build the local control plan for a district to address the local needs of a school district. That's so important. And so that, I think, is resonating because we're seeing the doors open much more in districts, and we see many more parents being involved in the process. So that's very important for our county in terms of that participation.
Driving that accountability level as well to the parents. Sometimes we've learned that people just kind of disassociate themselves with just sending kids to school and the school's going to teach them everything versus being engaged at that point.
And as we start to build our collective impact models where the collective includes parents, it includes businesses, it includes faith-based members, it includes nonprofits, then schools know where that resource is and how to tap into that resource to leverage resources for their priorities. And the more that model continues to sustain and to build, the more that we'll see that help schools accomplish their goals. We see that in Nashville with the Alignment Nashville model. That's the model that we're subscribed to in our county. Nashville, it's a little bit different because it's one governance structure. In our county, we have 24 cities. We have 33 school districts. We have a very large geography. So the more that we can look at a systemic approach to build systems of collective impact that are integrated, the more that we'll see that leverage take place.
This is going to be a little different question. How much of your budget goes to special education?
When we look at the numbers for special education, because in our county we have 3 SELPAs. We have our West End, East Valley, and High Desert. And there's a little over 106 million that's allocated towards the special ed programs in the SELPAs for the 3 regions. But that's just part of it because districts also have their own special education programs that encroach on the general fund. We also have some districts that act as their own SELPA, like San Bernardino City Unified in Fontana, so that would add to that number. But the dollars for special education aren't enough to provide the funding and resources to support the students in special education program. And that's an area that we continually lobby for because when you look at the needs of special education students, whether it's autistic programs, whether it's programs for vision impaired, hearing impaired, or other special education needs, it requires a level of expertise, it requires equipment, it requires training and professional development for teachers that really put tremendous effort into supporting students. So it's an area we need to continue to address to provide an optimal program for all students in special education classes.
Well, let me start off by saying I think you guys are doing a great job with special education. Actually, most of the school districts are doing a great job. But I understand there's a slightly an increase every year. And without doubt, these students, of all the students, need to be fully funded and taken care of. I'm just concerned that is there another ulterior motive in some of those situations? I'm understanding that some individuals, parents, encourage their children to either act up or look for the label of special education. And the unintended consequences to that could be the child carries this label around for years and they begin to act up more and more. And that's what I'm concerned about. I know that's not necessarily the school's responsibility, but do you think, is there in fact a slight increase in the people who are being labeled as special education?
Well, and this is what I'm proud of our schools in terms of how they operate and how they deal with issues relating to special education programs. Because the first thing a district will do when a student is not successful is that they'll convene a student study team meeting. And that meeting really brings the parent, the teacher, maybe a counselor, administrator together to talk about why is that child not being successful and what can we do as a team in our school to implement programs or interventions to support the student. Because we don't want to right away put a child into special education programs. We want to see what are the child's strengths and what are their areas of need and then build those interventions to support the student. Now, if a child still is not successful and there's a recommendation from teachers in the school and special education staff that there'll be an assessment done to determine if a child's in special education, then that definitely is a route that the district could take. But if a child does get assessed for special education and qualifies, there's always the least restrictive environment focus. So whenever a child's in special education, you always want that child in the least restrictive environment so they can be integrated into regular education programs. No one wants to label a child in special education. You want to look at what is the least restrictive environment, and then what do we do through that individual education process and the IEP, the individual education program, to meet the needs of students in special education programs.
Perfect. See, you enlightened me a little bit here. I appreciate that. Because I am concerned with the students, the label piece of it, and how they react to it. And the next question I'm going to ask you is more about, it's an open-ended question. You can answer it any way you wish.
Okay.
But what keeps you up at night? If it happened, what would make you, what just keeps you up?
You know, there is, in our county with 412,000 students, there's so many great things going on, but there's many needs that we all have. And us now having the responsibility of improving the local control accountability plans, we have a much more intimate knowledge of what the priorities of school districts are. So at night, when I'm at home and it's quiet, after a long day, I'm thinking about what's taking place across our county and what can we do? Who do I need to talk to? What person do I need to speak to think about other ways we can support districts? Because our whole focus in county schools is to support the most important priorities of school districts. And I think we're doing a great job of that, but there's always more to do to support the school districts because they're going through so much change in this historic times. There's really a pivotal change taking place where we see district superintendents, school communities, principals, teachers, classified members working very hard to accomplish their goals. The resources are starting to come back. We're still short, but through a team approach, a collective impact approach, I think we're doing a lot of great things for students in our county. And we'll continue to do so.
Outstanding. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in this interview. I'm very privileged to be the superintendent for what I believe the best county in the state. But like all other counties, we're in these times of change. And we all have to work together to provide our students with the best programs possible. We all want more resources, but with the resources we have, let's use them the best way. Let's engage our stakeholders, and let's do what we can for the success of every single student.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This morning's discussion promises to be one around a vision of how we can work together with our local communities to realize the promise and the potential of those communities through the partnerships that are engendered by education.
Improving the educational experience of our students has always been a top priority for the city. And the efforts of the leaders here today are certain to provide strategies to transform the lives of our children and our families.
You as participants are here because we have a plan for you to participate over the long haul in making sure that every child in the greater Rochester community is successful from cradle, we sometimes say through careers. We are providing a framework around which you chart your own destiny. It has the nomenclature of STRIVE. It is really a national cradle-to-career network of communities who, as the deputy mayor said, if not, it takes a village, since that title's already been taken. It certainly takes a community. The danger zone is to be sitting here in this room saying, no news here, we already do this. I'm telling you, you don't already do it unless you've got a table struggling through the fact that we are moving like atoms in different directions, even though we're all trying to solve the same problem.
Let's forget about whose fault it was. Let's forget about whether it's poverty or education or parents or teachers or administrators. It doesn't matter anymore. What does matter is what are we going to do about this today? You know, we can recognize SUNY as a leader in this field. I think with the STRIVE Network and SUNY's resources, you can help us chart the course as a nation for where we need to go. We're all threatened by budget cuts, and I think Chancellor Zimfer said it beautifully. We have to do more with what we have. And we have to look at the resources we have while we try to make the case that investing in education is what we need for our country's future.
We are absolutely committed to educational partnerships and really moving the education dial. Not just another program, but systemic, evidence-based change.
We have a long view. We have to have sustained achievement in this country, and educational and developmental opportunities for young people have to be at the core of that.
So my hope is that right now, given this economy, given the fact we're not looking for silver bullets, and given the fact that we have data and that we might be able to use it a little bit differently, that we're at the right time right now to actually have an impact. And that's what gives me hope, and it is certainly wonderful to see so many folks in Rochester fired up about making this happen.
The exciting part about Strive is that it has the capacity to coordinate resources in a meaningful way. We have never done that before.
But the truth is, if we do not build collaborations, we are not going to meet the needs of children. And what I'm excited about is this is the first step to create such a table that just as you have the HSA for healthcare, we will have a responsible table made up of diverse stakeholders for education.
If you're into building community, you can't say, I want my school for my 500 kids to be the best, and I want these kids to have things that other kids don't have. What's going to happen to your community in 20 years? You're going to have these little boutiques of, these little private enclaves of excellence, and you will have a bankrupt, failing community. So if that collective vision, if that goal is really clear, if you can really break that down, you will clearly see that in order to achieve that goal, that you have to line up, lock arms, and get it done.
When you bring the community together on this very highly focused initiative in 3 neighborhoods of a community, and then take that framework and scale it, I think that's what's the exciting part to me, and that's what brings myself and other business leaders and Chamber of Commerce presidents to the table to work closely with those who perhaps we haven't worked with as closely in the past.
Challenges oftentimes are opportunity, and this is our opportunity, and this is our moment.